Yeah, it is a huge city, very Greco-Roman, and you see the style of Greco-Roman buildings were red roofs, red shingle roofs, and white buildings mostly, because the white would reflect the sun and will look lighter. It was a big town, and I think it was a big industrial center because it was closer to the sea. It was a big strategic center for Christianity as well, because if you would come to Ephesus and be preaching the gospel, there will be a lot of merchants coming in and out of the city. There was a big cult to Diana, so tourists will come to the town, and there's a good opportunity for them to be persuaded to become Christians and leave their idolatry. That's where a lot of conflicts were raised by some of the manufacturers of temples of Diana and different idols and so on, because they were losing business. So not so much that they believed in the idols, but because they were losing business. And this is the town where Christians for 3 years kept their witchcraft books and still practiced witchcraft while being Christians. And only after the 3rd year they burned them. That's when Paul was in town. What?
So that, I met somebody when I was in Santa Fe once who told us that it was okay to practice Christianity and witchcraft. I thought that was what the Leviticus said. So that would be where he would get that thinking.
Probably.
Well, that's just it.
Yeah. Well, you have to consider that books in general were very expensive items. It wasn't like a Zondervan publishing house somewhere, or for the witchcraft books it would be Harper Collins edition. That's a liberal outfit. Zondervan is the same emblem, just a more conservative outfit. So books were expensive. Probably one book on the witchcraft will cost you 5 years' salary. That's probably why they kept them, because that was a monetary value. And probably when they sold it, they could afford a lot of extravagancies for themselves or for the church. But the fact itself that they kept those books was probably a bad testimony to the others in the city.
Yes.
You think? Following an extended eyewitness description of the upper room meal and discourse, John records events leading up to the resurrection, the final climactic proof that Jesus is who he claims to be, the Son of God. I think in Mel Gibson's movie, The Passion of the Christ, he follows closer the John's account, I would guess. Because John is preoccupied with the whole story of preceding the crucifixion and then resurrection more than Mark, Luke, or Matthew. And the upper room meal actually takes the central place in his gospel, because it's kind of an establishing banquet for the future ministry of the disciples. And that background is actually an imitation of papyrus. Reeds parallel and perpendicular to each other. This is an empty tomb somewhere in Palestine. As you can see, there's a huge round stone that will be rolled down to close this opening here. If you would ever be in a tomb like that, this is a fake door. You can't see anything past that door. Let's say if we look sideways, this is a cave, and this is this round stone, and this is the door. Past this door, there will be a wall extending from the ceiling down. So you'll actually have to kneel and crawl underneath to get to the inner chamber. So that's why disciples had to enter the tomb to see the angels there. They couldn't see them from the outside. The reason why this wall is here is to prevent smell from the grave to escaping it rapidly, and also slow down some effects, and for people not to be passerbyers who just wanted to see what's in there. So then there will be a body over here, or little chambers, and little boxes with bones from the previous dead people that used to lay.
How common were tombs like this?
Very common.
As in, even a poorer family would expect to have one, or is it like a Joseph of Arimathea?
Poorer families would be buried in a larger cave, kind of like communal cemetery, usually in the caves, and there will be niches cut out of the rock on the side of it. So, and then once body decays, they will gather bones in the box, sign whose bones are those. That's where the box numbers came through, the student box numbers. You get your papers and quizzes in those. Yeah.
So was there a prescribed period of time that they waited and then they went and collected the bones? Or?
With the climate in Palestine in the year, there was only bones left.
Wow.
Body decayed rapidly. We know after the third day, Lazarus was already smelling badly. It's very dry and hot climate. Author of the book. We know his name is John, but who was he? Usually the stereotypical John is very meek, almost girly guy that's always leaning on Jesus' bosom, you know, and has very melancholic character, and he's very loving and kind and so on. But we forget what Jesus says about John and James, his brother. They're both sons of Zebedee. James was killed earlier, before Peter was in prison. He was killed. John was one of the sons of thunder. And the reason why Jesus gave them this nickname, because after visiting a few villages where Jesus was rejected, they asked Jesus, let's bring down lightning and annihilate this whole town, because they didn't listen to you. They were very, very, I would say, violent, almost to the point of violence towards those that didn't accept Jesus' message. So do not confuse John with being meek. He is the guy who is on fire. And he is the one, like Donald Trump, you'll say, you're fired. Literally. So he was a son of Zebedee and Salome. Those are the names of his parents. He served Jesus in Galilee. He was himself from Galilee, and he served Jesus in Galilee when Jesus was performing his ministry there. As we know, Jesus moved from Nazareth to Capernaum, which was a town on the lake of Galilee. And that's where most of his disciples actually came from Galilee. Which is a whole other story. It's the same thing as if his disciples came, let's say, from Yuba City, you know, when you were in Sacramento, or in Grove, or Marysville. Those people. That's the kind of reputation they would get from people in Jerusalem. John was the only disciple present at the crucifixion. So you see, he wasn't girly. He was there at the fear of his own death. He wasn't afraid. Although he ran away with everybody else from the garden when he was at the crucifixion. Peter was too chickened out to show up.
How did we know that?
Huh?
Was there How do we know that?
Because Jesus from the cross says, you will be her son, and she will be your mother from now on. Remember that?
Yeah, but what makes him the only disciple there?
Huh?
What makes him the only disciple
Because
there?
all the other disciples dispersed. They ran away. They were not there because they were afraid that they will be crucified as well.
And I was just wondering, what kind of proof did you get that from?
From the book.
Where'd you get the tape?
Where did you get the tape? Yeah, Jesus CC'd me on that, yeah.
What scripture did it say they were all dispersed?
Well, it said that they all ran away, they all abandoned me, or whatever. Look the movie. Watch the movie. I'll show you the document in the picture form in a minute. So, in a minute. John was one of the 12 apostles, which makes him the only apostle writing the gospel. Well, Matthew was.
Matthew was one called?
Yeah, well.
Copy more.
I would say the only apostle from the closest circle of Jesus' friends. Since John, James, and Peter were the closest three. John became one of the pillars of the Jerusalem church. What does that mean, pillar of the Jerusalem church? What was that? A founder? The founder of the church is Jesus.
More like an elder.
Elder, yeah. But why are they called pillars?
Holding the church up,
They're the
Holding the
strongest.
church up.
They're the
kind of
strongest.
keeping them on track.
Yeah, interesting. When you go to the Mediterranean world, what do you usually see in ruins of the cities?
Pillars.
Why are they the only ones that are standing? The roof is gone, everything else is gone and destroyed. Pillars remain.
Are they connected to the foundation?
They're strong. Okay. Other versions?
Are they actually connected to the foundation?
No.
No. Okay.
No matter what happens, they can bend and move and still stay standing.
Very good. Pillars are not strong. They're very flexible.
Just big pieces. moving.
Pillars are built out of the round
You can
forms
shift.
like this, stacked upon one another, and connected with U-shaped metal clips or wooden clips, usually metal. So once the earthquake hit the town, they would be flexing all over the place. So the roof may collapse, but the pillars remain, which was interesting.
Did they do that because of earthquakes or because marble cylinders like that were just so heavy?
We don't know.
Could be both.
We are not building the same structures today, so it's hard to say. But their engineering capabilities were quite impressive, since a lot of things. I mean, Parthenon was a standing building until Napoleon War. Napoleon was actually shooting cannonballs into Parthenon because somebody stored cannonballs in the temple, and that's why Parthenon doesn't have any roof anymore, because once they hit those cannonballs, guess what? It blew up from inside out. All right. Huh?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. You see, this is the document where
Wow.
John is the only disciple by the side of Mary and Mary Magdalene. Is that proof good enough for you?